everybody, welcome to my brand new channel where we are going to be talking all about mindset, manifestation, how to hack your subconscious and create your dream life. So this is kind of going to be a little intro video where I talk about sort of my past year experience that led to me creating this whole new channel and talking about conscious manifestation, what I've learned, what I've manifested, and what exactly is conscious manifestation. If you're interested in more videos on these topics, be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, engage with this video so that I know you want to see more. I am currently running a sale on my Revise Your Mindset workbook. It's because I'm gonna plan to do updates to it. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to release a new modified one, but for now I'm going to put the old one on super discount. So if you want to get that and start revising your mindset in the month of June, then be sure to jump on that deal. I will leave the link down below. You can find it in the description box. Okay, let's get into it. So I have been consciously manifesting for a year now. What does that even mean? I've always been into manifestation, but it wasn't until last year that I started like making a conscious effort to manifest specific things into my life, to accomplish goals, to do the work on myself and like manifest with like hyper intention. Before, I was very conscious of manifesting and to like a subconscious level. As a former professional athlete, I feel like I've always been really tapped into subconscious mindset, using hypnotherapy. It wasn't until this past year that I really started making a conscious daily effort to focus on the things that I want and not just giving it to like, if it's meant to be, it will be. Like I set this intention and if it's meant to show up, no. I set this intention and that shit is going to show up. That's my conscious manifesting in a nutshell. But to further emphasize, I really dove into the teachings of Neville Goddard. I've always been into Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks, law of attraction stuff, but I really leveled up my game and started using law of assumption techniques. The feeling is the secret, all those things. I started really applying this. I started watching more videos from conscious manifestors on YouTube, on TikTok. They started coming on my feed. This is how I really took control of my life. But before I get into what I manifested, I feel like it's really important to kind of go back to where I was a year ago. I was going through a breakup. This was a hard breakup. And I like very much still had hopes of like being with this person. And it was like, you know, the same story that always happens, at least for me, the same pattern where it's like, oh, I'm with somebody and they have this fear of commitment. And it's like, if I looked from the beginning, all the signs were there. I kept kind of fueling the same narrative. So I really made sort of a conscious decision. Like this is where the conscious decision started. I made a conscious decision that like my next relationship, I would heal for my next relationship, make sure that I'm growing as a person so that the next relationship I'm in is going to be a level up from the last, or the next relationship I'm in, I'm not bringing in all this old junk, you know, because it was just getting exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to constantly live in narratives that don't serve us. And this was like having to take a hard look at myself and really be like radically honest with myself. And this is there's still a lot of stuff that I'm healing. I think like the healing process really requires us to be super vulnerable, super open, super honest with ourselves. And one of the hardest things to do is to see certain patterns in your life that keep repeating, and instead of taking that and identifying with it as like, this always happens to me, it was more of like, okay, I'm the common denominator here. So it's me. So if I heal this root belief, this root trigger, then I can shift my reality. I can stop attracting this type of situation into my life, and thus began the journey. I think the first part of this, before I really delved in or started becoming aware of conscious manifestation, and I think this is the beautiful thing about manifestation in general, or when we're working with our subconscious and we set this intention, like, and we release powerful emotions. So like, even by me releasing, like, I never want to feel this again, my subconscious started working its magic, you know? And the subconscious magic, whether you want to look at it as God or the universe, whatever your language is, it's always like you just throw it out there and you set the intention and it's going to show you the path. So I do think that the fact that I started being presented with all this information about conscious manifesting, about Neville Goddard, about the law of assumption, it was because I, on an internal level, asked for it. And when we start using that and we start realizing that we are really the creators of our reality, and our subconscious is always going to deliver what we are asking for on an emotional and energetic level. So when we look at it from that perspective, I also recognized within myself that I asked for that breakup. Something in me asked for the separation, asked for the breakup, because my subconscious and my nervous system really was not capable of handling it. I was in constant stress, I was in constant anxiety, and it was because I still had all these unhealed wounds that were I was being put into the war zone. And as you go growing in relationships, which is inevitable, you know, there's going to be that push and pull. And I think that it had gotten to a point where I really did manifest the separation, or I created that for myself, because my subconscious was like, we're not safe here. This doesn't feel comfortable for us. So we need to separate. So this was like kind of a big processing point for me. And part of this processing point was me setting and again, this was before I even started stumbling on the things that I needed, but I started making lists of things that popped up in my relationship and kind of doing the internal work of looking at, okay, this person was not ready for commitment. Like, in what ways am I not ready for commitment? This person was doing this. Like, I just listed out my beliefs around this situation and then kind of mirrored that back to myself. And a lot of it really stemmed from, there were certain things that I was putting off in my personal life. And I was in like this limbo phase of, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I just want to cling to somebody else, and then like cling to their life, and then like cling to their plan. And I'm willing to give up all my stuff so that I can just, you know, because I was like running from doing the work that I needed to do and growing in the way that I needed to grow. And at this point, like when I had first met the person that I was dating at the time, I had just finished writing the rough draft of my book. And it was like, if you've read my book yet or not, which it did get published, that's one of the manifestations. If you've read my book or not, it's very like heavy, and it's a lot of processing certain emotions. It's a lot of me going back in and like rewriting my story, rewriting the narrative, and closing a certain chapter of my life. Like while I was playing professional golf, while this relationship that I didn't really get closure from. And then I met this person. And I feel like I had this purge when I wrote the rough draft of this. And I met this person, and the last thing that I wanted to do was go and revisit all of this. But I knew like I wanted this to be like a published book, but it kept on being something like I'm putting off. And then at the same time, if you follow me on my tarot channel, I was like, I'm not feeling connected with the tarot. And I was kind of using this relationship as almost like a void filler, right? It's like, I don't want to address this uncertainty in my life, so I'm just gonna like attach myself to this relationship. And these were like part of the things, like, okay, what can I do for myself? I think anybody who's been through a breakup, you know, like the easiest way to move through it and it's very hard for me to move on, like especially when I've like poured myself into someone, is to like, how can I focus on me? How can I accomplish these things? How can I get them done? So I really made this list. So part of the list was like, I need to publish my book. I need to just check these things off my boxes. There were like health goals that I wanted. I had been like on this health journey before meeting, everything that I was like building momentum towards and progress towards, all were put on pause when I got into this relationship. And that is 100% my doing. That is 100% my doing. I put a pause on it because I guess I was afraid of growth. And then this person was in my life, and I had this like thing where it was like, when I would like do my sessions with myself, this was like my own manifesting practice where I'm like, okay, what's blocking me from moving forward? I had this belief that if I better myself in any kind of way, I'm not going to want to be with this person. And I'm so comfortable. I'm so comfortable, and I like this person so much. And I was so afraid that if I bettered myself, I'd wake up to the fact that like I deserve better than this. And that's twisted. But then that's how our subconscious is like sneaky. So when I got out of this relationship, I was like, okay, we need to start checking off the boxes. We need to start doing things for us. We need to start figuring out our life. This did not happen overnight. This was something that sat there, and I was like, you know, there would be days and weeks that I would be like, I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to be social. I don't want to be around people. There was still a lot of like interaction back and forth lingering between me and this person, and me still kind of clinging to this, but realizing at some point, like, I've got to change. I've got to change myself. I've got to give myself that chance. And by probably August was when I started falling into this like conscious manifestation community where I was like consciously starting to manifest. My biggest thing was my book, okay? That was like my biggest intention. And as I was like kind of growing and putting myself in environments around people who were more conducive, one of the big things that I struggled with in my relationship and in a lot of my relationships is kind of the shame around not accepting that I'm like a tarot reader or that I am online, and feeling like a little bit of embarrassment of that. And what would manifest was that I'd find partners who were like embarrassed by that, or who would reflect that embarrassment back to me. And I think I was like, that's something that I need to heal. And I helped heal that by finding like a community of people that accepted me, not only accepted me, and I know like all of my followers here accept me, but I was like in my like immediate circle, it was a lot of people who didn't understand that part of me, but it was because like, okay, I'm not even owning this part of me, so how can I expect other people to own this part of me? Or this was like a reflection of, I need to grow and level up because I'm not wanting to be, you know, just a tarot reader anymore. I don't feel like that fully helps people. It's fun and it's entertaining, but even in my own journey, I don't fully rely on tarot. Like I said, I'm more mindset manifestation, but there was a point in my life where I was really heavy interested in the tarot and astrology for my own journey. So that was a healing thing that needed to take place in itself. And then my book was the biggest intention. Like, I just got to do the book. And I would feel like that. Like, I just got to do the book. But every time I would say that, like, there was nothing in me that was like, okay, let's hunker down and do it. Let's get it done. Until, like, I just set the intention, and I kind of focused on other things in my life and gave myself the space in the room. And like, again, if you've been following with my journey in this past year, because I've posted a lot of videos on my other channel, part of the book, I talk about a relationship that I really never got closure from, and it ended badly. We hadn't spoken for like 7 or 8 years. And finally, after this relationship, we reconnected, and I was finally able to have that closure, and it happened in such like a magical way. Like, I definitely manifested it. It happened in such like a phenomenal way that we were able to reconnect. I was able to share parts of the book with this person. We were able to like reconcile and heal our relationship, and it was like this beautiful experience where I got to hear from somebody who knew the older, unevolved me, knew the me from this book, and was able to be like, oh my gosh, you've changed so much. And in my mind, I'm like, if only you knew, like, this has only been like a couple months of work. And it was able to show me that, you know, who I was in that relationship that I had just gotten out of, it wasn't like the full potential that I had. Like, I brought some of like the uglier parts of myself out in the relationship because I was so attached and so anxious and so afraid of losing this person that, or I placed this person on such a pedestal in my mind that I sort of, you know, I just gave a lot of my power to that situation. And then in this, by reconnecting with this other person who at one point I felt the same exact way about, and being able to look at it from a different perspective and being able to see this person show up as a completely different person because of the completely different person that I was, and being able to heal and reconcile this relationship that was obviously important and impactful enough for me to write about it. It was just this beautiful experience. And as I had that experience, when I came, it did something to my subconscious, because when I came back from that experience, I immediately met a publisher, an editor, a publisher who was like, I want to help you publish this book. And we did so. You can buy it on Amazon. Quick little plug, okay? But that was like the first biggest thing. And then it was like, all these opportunities started rolling in for me, but I would have moments of falling back into old patterns. As I was like going through this book, like the same thing was happening. The same thing that happens to me in this book was happening to me in real life. And it was sort of like this realization of, okay, here's this other thing, this other story that I've got to heal. And it was kind of pushing me forward to be like, finish this thing so that we can close out this chapter and this story can be separate from us, because I don't want to hold on to this story anymore. And then I think that was like a big thing for me, to finally just finish something. And I do think that it was like this kind of shift for me, like by finishing this, by showing myself that I can do it. Not only have I released this book, I just had another book that was published where I'm a featured author. There's a chapter where I talk about the mindset of surrender. It's called The Goddess Portal. Again, you can find this linked on my Amazon author page, both of these books. I really started hunkering down and like checking things off my boxes that I wouldn't have before, and I started finding more direction. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I had a lot of mental breakdowns. I would have a lot of forward movement, and then I would have like the biggest self-sabotage ever. And it was around like New Year's where I was like, okay, here I've taken this situation, I've blown it up, and I just self-sabotaged everything. This was where I started kind of like, instead of beating myself up, I was like, we got to be really patient with ourselves. And this was like a really beautiful moment for me, because especially in regards to a lot of my relationships, especially in regards to this past relationship, one of my big beliefs and one of my big like gestures is like, I don't give up on people. Like, I won't give up on you. And like, that's like my defense of like my persistence, is that like, you should be honored because I'm not giving up on you. But then I kind of had this moment where I was like, you should put that on yourself. Like, all these things that all this love that you're giving externally, hoping for something back, you need to do this for yourself. What would it feel like to be that for yourself? And when I like released this book, it's like emotional, but I'm like, that to me was like, I don't give up on myself. Of course that manifests externally. Of course, that's how I am in relationships, because at the end of the day, I don't give up on myself. Like, I wanted to be a professional golfer, and I did it. I did it. And I really noticed this shift, because when like a lot of different things in my life, I've had a lot of different moments in my life where, like, when it came to golf, when it comes to relationships, it's all the same. And I talk about it in the book a lot. It's like, when I get overwhelmed and I give too much and feel like I'm not getting more back, or I'm afraid of being disappointed, I'll walk away from something. So that happens in my relationships. Like I'll be the one to end the relationship because I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna be disappointed. And I think like in the conscious manifesting space, this was a belief that really, really dramatically shifted for me, because I was like, no matter how long it takes, if I want it enough, I will never give up on myself. And that was like a belief that I shift. And I'm like, this isn't a false positive. This isn't a false belief. I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be disappointed because I'm always going to be there for myself. I'm always going to have my back. And it was like a big breakthrough that I had. And it was like reaching this finish line. It just really... It really was like a big thing for me. Not to get overly emotional, but I do think like come February, once I released this, was when I started finding solutions to, say, weight loss. Like I know I had always been wanting to lose a certain amount of weight, and like I had plateaued for a long time, and it was like always a struggle that I had between me and my body. And I was starting to find solutions like hormonal issues, how to balance that. And it was like small. At this point, February, I started really pouring into myself. I hired like a hypnotherapist, a coach, and I was really kind of like, what's next? This is something that I need to figure out. I need to stabilize my life, and I need to kind of figure out like what's after tarot. And I need to give myself the space, the time. At this time, I was also working on like I Make Money Effortlessly, and I'll have to make a whole separate video on that. But I was manifesting money effortlessly. That was giving me the time. I was like, okay, my health is my priority right now, so I'm gonna completely focus on this, even if that means I'm not making money right now, or not moving forward in my business, or taking the gas off of my business. That's okay, because we're pouring into me right now. The focus is on me. And this was like me hiring a coach, me getting the hypnotherapy, which led to me being like, why am I not a hypnotherapist? I'm so passionate about this that I should be a hypnotherapist. So this was when I started seeing shifts. And then come like March, I'm seeing more movement. I think March was when I started like, I'm gonna start doing hypnotherapy. Like I'm gonna start the training. I'm gonna start studying. I have all this time on my hands. Why don't I get my hypnotherapy license? And March was when I started seeing the wheels shift, like I'm losing weight. And then April was when I like really started having these like inspirations of like what I'm gonna do next, figuring out my life, releasing weight. I'm not even gonna use losing, because it's like releasing. We're healing like emotional trauma, and the emotions stored in my body are releasing. And I have been like, I don't think I've been the size I am now since I was like 21. I'm releasing all this weight. I think I've in total lost like 25 pounds. Releasing all this weight. I'm feeling confident in myself. I'm healing these woundings. I'm like falling in love with myself again, mainly because of the fact that I'm like, I turned that energy of like, I'm not gonna give up on this person. And this probably only happened like end of April, where I had this realization of like, man, I feel underappreciated in the fact that like, you know, I'm judging myself here for the fact that I am still trying to reach out to this person or make amends with this person or do this for this person. And I was like, I need to turn that on me. I need to give myself that type of love. And it was this sort of epiphany of like, wow, how amazing is it to have some, like, to not give up on myself, to be so committed to myself and my goals that I've been able to accomplish these things that for years I wasn't getting through to. I wasn't getting past. And this belief in myself that it's really shifted this narrative that I have of like, oh, I'm always just so close to achieving my goal, but I fall short. That was like a big belief that I have. And now I've just realized like, no, if I give myself the space and time, I will accomplish anything that I want. I'm capable of anything. And part of this is like doing my affirmation challenges and doing like dedicating an hour a day to meditating and dedicating time to studying and learning like through the hypnotherapy courses, really just pouring into myself and focusing on myself. And that doesn't mean I don't have bad weeks. That doesn't mean that I don't have weeks where I fall into old patterns, but I really support myself. And it's like, okay, this is fine. Like, we're still adjusting, we're still shifting. You're gonna get there. You're gonna get there and you're going to be okay. And me being the partner to myself that I've just always wanted. And I think it's been like an emotional time, and it's been like this just beautiful experience of like feeling safe and confident within myself, and knowing that like even in the people, even if I haven't met the one, like the people that I go on dates with, the caliber of people that are entering my life, the caliber of clients, the caliber of the opportunities that are showing up for me are just so leveled up that I look back at like the relationships that I've been on the past and I'm like, no way would those have ever made it past a first date. No way would it have ever made it past a first date in the energy that I'm in now. And the caliber of people that I'm attracting into my life now are leaps and bounds more of a reflection of who I am, who I've shifted to become because of that. You know, because of the way that I treat myself now, the way that I like don't shame myself for certain things anymore, and the patience that I have with myself. And that was another big thing, is like I'm a very impulsive, impatient person, and I would get anxiety attacks, and a lot of that is stuff that I've had to heal. And again, like the hormonal balances, like finding solutions to how I can heal that it doesn't always have to be like, oh my God, this magic thing. Like sometimes it is like the proper supplements or proper medication showing up for you that really helps you. And that's why I'm like, whatever is going to do it for you. That helped me like with my impulse control, and not, you know, not needing to, because that was something that I would bring into relationships too, is like that impulsivity. Like I feel anxious, so I need to like purge this right now, and then it's like creating stress and pressure for that person, where it's like I need to soothe. I wanted like them to soothe me, but now I'm like, no, I soothe me. So I sit with myself through that energy. I'm more patient with myself, and I more like learn how to direct that energy into myself instead of looking to my external reality to fill that. But I know this was a long video, but it's kind of like the intro video. So let me know what you're currently trying to manifest. Let me know what videos you'd like to see over here. And yeah, I look forward to this new journey. See you on my next one. Bye.